Yeah! What it do, YouTube, man? It is your boy Solid back with another Solid reaction. And today, man, we're going to be trying to figure out what is Scottie Pippen's animosity against Michael Jordan, man. We're going to go ahead and check this one out, man. I hope y'all guys have been enjoying the videos that I have been putting out, man. Make sure y'all hit this like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on so you never miss another Solid reaction, baby. But let's go ahead and get into this one and see what's going on.
Renamed its trophies to individual player names, it was bound to cause a stir. But who knew a 3-year-old documentary would still be making rounds with players trying to debunk or discredit the lead? You guys already know what we're talking about. Today, let's shed some light on why Scottie Pippen absolutely hates Michael Jordan for the release of The Last Dance.
I think it's because it made Scottie look like he wasn't a team player. Like, real talk, I think the documentary, from my point of view, it just made him look like he wasn't a team player because he wanted to sit, you know, because he wasn't getting paid and stuff like that, which I understand. Don't get me wrong, Scottie, I understand the whole situation. But I'm also saying, as a teammate, sometimes you thinking about the wrong things at that time. I think he would have been more negotiable. It would have been better for you if you would have played it through, because Mike would have had your back a little bit better than what you think, because he knows how much you mean to him, and that's just the facts of it. But that's what I think. I think that's why Scottie was mad, is because it's just, it wasn't, how do I say, it was making him look like he was a bad person. Put it that way.
Discredit the lead. You guys already know what we're talking about. Today, let's shed some light on why Scottie Pippen absolutely hates Michael Jordan for the release of The Last Dance. So let's tango, shall we? First off, let's talk about The Last Dance. It's been 3 years now since the iconic release of the documentary The Last Dance. And from the looks of it, Scottie Pippen still has some reservations about the whole thing. The infamous documentary showed Michael Jordan and his legendary time spent playing for the Chicago Bulls, with a particular emphasis on his final years with the team. Why does he have those concerns, you may ask? Well, it was all because of how the Bulls were represented in the documentary. And so Pippen holds quite a great deal of anger for Michael Jordan. And you know our Scottie Pippen, right? When the man is upset, he will let the world know it. That's just who he is. There's no doubt that the man has assisted the Chicago Bulls with 6 championship wins. But sadly, that's not what the man is known for. Instead, Pippen's Hall of Fame career was defined by his animosities within the team. After signing a long-term contract in 1991,
which was his fault,
rapidly left him considerably.
Okay, and that was another thing. That was his fault. Like, did y'all see that contract he signed? That's his fault. Like, you can't blame Mike. You can't blame the organization. That's your fault. Why did you sign a shitty contract? Why did you not ask for more? Like, you knew who they gonna look out for more would be Mike. So why didn't you get yours? I'm sorry, Mike gonna get his. Why didn't you get yours?
Within the team, after signing a long-term contract in 1991, that rapidly left him considerably undervalued because NBA salaries increased consistently. And so, not surprisingly, the 57-year-old had a legendary falling out with Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf and the general manager Jerry Krause. That was also one of the reasons that Pippen missed the final play of a playoff game against the New York Knicks during Michael Jordan's first retirement, because head coach Phil Jackson designed it for Tony Kukoc instead of him. Yep, it's the same game that Kukoc got to shoot his game-winner shot. According to Scottie, it was all really because he didn't want the rehabilitation to up my summer. After that, what exactly does Scottie have to say about Michael Jordan? Whichever side of the fence you may be on, MJ or SP, there's no denying that Scottie is one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history too. But despite that,
top 2 defender of all time,
adjust to retirement, and thus he resorted to being aggressive when The Last Dance was released, and interest in the Bulls' 90s dynasty was going around once more. So what's his deal with the documentary anyway? The focus of Pippen's concern is The Last Dance, a 10-part ESPN program that gripped the nation in 2020 amid the pandemic. Although the documentary was advertised as an inside look at the Bulls dynasty's final season, the final cut primarily highlighted Jordan's ascent to the position of the greatest player in league history, the MVP.
I mean, it's about him, though.
Doesn't really sit well with Pippen. Courtside rivalries aside, a biased portrayal is bound to trigger any player, right? But then again, Michael Jordan, he may not be undisputed undisputed, but he is a legend, and there's no denying it. Now let's talk about an excerpt from Pippen's autobiography. You guys have heard about it, right? In November 2021, Scottie Pippen released his new autobiography, Unguarded, as a memoir of his own. In the book, he accuses Jordan of being condescending and claims that they have never been close. A passage from the book that captures Pippen's discontent was featured in GQ. The 57-year-old states that Michael Jordan deserved a lot of the blame for The Last Dance because, according to Pippen, Jordan was given editorial control over the finished work by the producers. Otherwise, the final cut couldn't have been made public. So the man is directly responsible for the content released because he served as both the director and the main man.
Okay. This is what I want a lot of people to understand, bro. The documentary is how Michael Jordan saw it. Listen to me. The documentary is how Michael Jordan saw it. So as Scottie Pippen, if you look, call me. I'll be real with you. Call me, bro. We make you a documentary. The truth about, we'll call it something nice, and you can tell your side. But you have to also understand that Mike is telling it from his side. He's not worried about your side, the teammate side, the Bulls, or the ownership. He wasn't worried about none of that. He told it from his side, what he saw, what he felt, and he even said it. I felt like Scottie was being selfish. He never said Scottie was just being selfish and everybody knew it. He said, I felt like Scottie was being selfish. So it was from out of his eyes. So you can't really get mad about what he is telling you when he's the one telling you. It's his story. It's him telling the story.
We talked about the second episode of the documentary as well, which briefly concentrated on Scottie's challenging beginnings and rocky journey to the NBA.
Was it not?
Again, the story eventually circled back to MJ and his unwavering will to triumph. That made the former player feel like a mere prop, nothing more, which is quite understandable, right? What do you guys think? Next, Scottie says MJ was patronizing. Right. In the documentary The Last Dance, Michael Jordan referred to Pippen as his all-time best teammate. And that, according to the 57-year-old, is the most patronizing comment ever. Our guy here talked about the message in every episode, which was the same in every episode. Michael was the hero, the main character. He was put on a pedestal, and compared to him, his teammates were secondary, smaller, just his supporting cast. Scottie added that each season...
Okay, Scottie, what is he not? If this was a manga, Michael Jordan is the main character. If this is a manga, if this is an anime, Michael Jordan is Naruto and Scottie is Sasuke. He still got a big part in the story, but it's just not as big as Naruto's. Like, come on, man. You bugging out. I get what you're coming from, but it was never your team to begin with. That's like a lot of people who say, let's just go hypothetical. If LeBron James got mad at D-Wade because of the whole Heat situation, we're not going to pick LeBron James for the Heat. Nobody's going to do that. Everybody in Wade County going to say, this is Wade, bro. What you mean, bro? Yeah, you good. You number 2, but you not number 1. That's always going to be D-Wade, no matter if you better than him or not. And that's just what I'm trying to get you to understand is that was his team. If you didn't like it, you should have went somewhere else way earlier. That's the simple fact of it.
Whenever their team won, the team itself got little to no credit. But when they lost, they got the majority of the blame. Because in the eyes of the adoring media and public, Michael Jordan could play as badly as he wanted or make faulty shots and still be thought of as the errorless Jordan. That was just a precedent that the documentary had set. It doesn't end here either. As per Pippen, only Jordan received the $10 million fee for his part in the film. Nobody else from the Bulls dynasty received any monetary compensation for their part in the whole thing. Now, that's a little harsh, right? Coming up, he blames MJ for the documentary. Okay, yes, it's no secret by now, but still, let's talk about it, shall we? Okay. Pippen blames Jordan for how the Bulls are portrayed in The Last Dance. In his most recent book, he shares that Michael deserved a lot of the blame. According to the small forward, the documentary portrayed a rather biased view of the Bulls dynasty. In reality, things were not as good as they were shown. So instead of sharing a more honest look at the dark side of Jordan's greatness. It seemed like the documentary was primarily concerned with enhancing his legacy. Since the moment Jordan gained creative control, the documentary was always going to be compromised, according to Pippen. Despite all this, the guy continued to be a sensation. Following up on things, let's talk about MJ's retirement. Now, it's no secret that when Jordan was guiding the Bulls to championships, they were filled with many colorful characters and interpersonal conflicts. But then came the time that Jordan first retired, and so Pippen was first presented with the chance to lead the Bulls. As you all may remember, that's when the Chicago Bulls fell a tad short in the playoffs. So despite their shared accomplishment and their failures, it's obvious that there's a lot of bitterness throughout the entire team. Now, it may appear that Pippen's media tour to voice his complaints makes him appear in a bad light of sorts. There's also no denying that the points made by the guy are pretty valid. It's true that the man isn't ready to let go of his resentments and seems rather hell-bent on exposing Jordan as the jerk he knows him to be. But at the end of the day, that's one man's opinion too, and we're all entitled to our own opinions. What do you guys think? More on that. What has MJ said about his teammate? Resentments, grudges, and documentaries aside, there's no denying that Pippen was unstoppable at his peak. If truth be told, the man could be the best defensive player to ever exist.
I think he is. I think there's only one person who kind of gives him a run for his money, but he's been dormant these last couple of years, so I'm kind of like, nah, bro, you're not the best defensive player of all time. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard might be the only other player that's defensive. Like, I'm like, he's everywhere. You know, he's one of those players that it can play multiple positions and he can guard multiple positions and he's going to defend the ball better than anybody. Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Pippen, to me, are the two pinnacles of what I consider what defense is supposed to be. So, I mean, I understand it. I think, and on the note of Scottie going around saying what he got to say, I think it needs to be said. I guess, do I feel like the documentary was a little bit more biased towards Michael Jordan's standard? Yes. But who is the one that they going to make the story about? It's never going to be about the side character. It's going to be about the main character. It's never going to be about, oh, man, you know, the Bulls, we went through up and downs. We had this guy leave, this guy come in. We was going through this. No, it's going to be, well, Mike had the adversity of this guy, and then he had to deal with this guy leaving. He had to deal with Scottie in his situation. He had to deal with Dennis Rodman in his situation. Mike was the main character, and I understand it, but you also got to take your lesson and say, look, man, this story is about Mike. He got you 6 rings. I mean, I know that to you that might be like, man, I don't care about 6 rings. I want the truth. But that's not what people are going to want to see. If people wanted to pay to see the truth, we'd have a lot more movies about what's really going on in America. People don't pay to see the truth. They pay to see a reality that is formed in their mind to make sense. That's what they pay for.
Pippen I think they did the right thing. Significantly to the 1992 Dream Team. He deserves to be considered one of the best players in league history. And it's true that without him, Jordan would not have amassed 6 championships.
I think he would have got 3.
No one, absolutely no one, has said otherwise. The player alone may feel underappreciated or not recognized, but that doesn't mean that his talent has gone unseen. He may not be the greatest, but he is one of the greats. And
he's the greatest second man of all time.
Doesn't sit right with the guy. Even Michael Jordan has sung Pippen's praises all of his life, but it has never been enough for the guy. At some point, perhaps, he simply needs to rest and deem everything he has enough, because otherwise, there's no end to this last dance. Up next is another documentary in the works. Yep, word on the street is that Michael Jordan is producing another documentary, but this time our boy Jordan would be concentrating on his comeback season with the Washington Wizards. Sam Amico, a senior NBA writer for HoopsWire.com, announced on January 12 that he's happy to be old enough to have been asked to contribute to a documentary about Michael Jordan's time with the Wizards. Yardbarker shared that this stage of Jordan's career doesn't get spoken about enough, and that's exactly what they're going to change. The release will feature Michael Jordan's well-known comeback from retirement and his inevitable rise with the Washington Wizards. It's going to be very exciting to hear all the fascinating stories Jordan has to share about his time there, even if he didn't win any championships with the team. In order for fans to dive even further into the life and NBA career of one of the greatest players to ever do it, a documentary describing his time there is the way to go, all right. Lastly, let's have a look at his time with the Washington Wizards. If you think about it, Michael Jordan's final dance technically went down when he was a member of the Wizards. As we all know, after the passing of his father, the NBA legend took his first retirement in 1993, but then only 18 months later, he was back on the court, and in 1998 took his second retirement. It's true that his comeback wasn't as phenomenal as his time with the Chicago Bulls, but it is still Michael Jordan, and the man's star power and talent are non-refutable. His first purpose behind joining the Washington Wizards was to work in the front office. Apparently, the man had some ownership interests there, but soon, less than 2 years later, he declared his return to the NBA, and that's when he shared that he aimed to instruct younger players, not just during practice, but also during actual NBA games. The saga continued until the ripe old age of 40, when he ultimately retired from the sport after playing for 2 additional seasons.
Okay.
And while he may have left the court, the legacy of MJ continues to live on. That's a wrap. Let us know in the comments below what you're anticipating from Michael Jordan's documentary that focuses on the Wizards.
All right, man, that is the end of this video, man. I hope y'all guys did enjoy this one, man. But, man, I think we really do need to see a Wizard one. And, Scotty, I really do think you need your own documentary. I think you need to make your own documentary. I think that's what you need to do. I think you need to be the leading role on it. It don't have to be on the same budget as Mike's. It don't have to be one of those crazy, wild ones. Just you having a decent conversation, putting in players that y'all play with, that y'all know, and just talking about it. Like, I think you need that. I think you need that, Scotty. I do really think you do need that. But about that Wizard, I'm really looking forward to it because I really loved Michael Jordan on the Wizards. I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, he was on the decline and all that. But Mike was still, a shadow of what he used to be with the Bulls when he was playing with the Wizards. It's not like he didn't always he just had horrible games after horrible games like people make it seem. He had some nights where he was actually cooking. He was going off. But, man, that is the end of this video, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn your notifications on so you never miss another solid reaction. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.